Hi, thanks for joining in. Welcome to the conversation series from IATA World Cargo Symposium 2025. We are here in Dubai, and I'm Libin Chacko Kurian from Stat Times. Right now, I'm sitting for a video conversation with a global detection company that specializes in air cargo. The name of the company is Global K9 Protection Group. They have solutions, safety and security solutions for multiple sectors, including aviation and air cargo. Right now, I'm joined by the Chief Strategy Officer of the company, Chris Daniels. Chris, thank you so much for joining us
I
today.
appreciate you having me.
Thank you. At the beginning of the IATA World Cargo Symposium, the global head of cargo, Mr. Brandon, when he gave his presentation, one of the most important thing that he mentioned was the threat, the security threat, particularly posed by the lithium-ion batteries, the undeclared, the misdeclared lithium-ion batteries. That's a big threat for the air cargo industry. And you are somebody who provide security solutions for the air cargo industry. Tell us about how you view this particular threat and how important is that?
So the threat of the specifically the undeclared, purposeful undeclared, and kind of the mistakenly undeclared battery, it is a threat. The understanding, the construction of them, really has led to our development of a solution where we are able to detect these undeclared batteries, which does it provides a level of investigatory kind of to the package to allow the shipper to know what's in the box, right? So we're able to identify these batteries so that they can take the proper measures.
Do you think lithium-ion batteries are the biggest security threat for the air cargo industry right now?
From an emerging standpoint, yes. And the reason I say that it's not just the manufacturer who purposely is not declaring this. It's the average everyday person that puts something that they don't understand as a battery. It's a used item, so it's not straight from a factory. It's not done a quality check. It's an item that's been used, and maybe the battery itself has a problem. Gets put into a package and then shipped across the network, for which no one knows that it's in there. They signed a form and they didn't really read it or didn't understand that there was a battery inside that item. So now that that item has a problem, for which creates a thermal runaway while they're sitting next to all these other items, and it's a very difficult fire to extinguish.
Okay. Beyond lithium-ion batteries, what are the biggest threat for air cargo industry right now? As somebody who is from the security perspective, who can speak about that, what the air cargo industry should be careful about?
So we have to be continuously aware of the historic threats that we've had. The dangerous goods that potentially could enter the networks. So as we talk explosives, as we talk incendiary devices, once again you have the threat actor that purposely is doing this to move things through the network, and then you have the non-threat actor that unintentionally is introducing these things in, right? So we have to be able to detect both those. The lithium battery is the emerging threat. We have multi-layered solutions, the use of technology, the use of the K9s, the use of detectors, as well as the process. The known shipper programs, the understanding who's manufacturing, and the process of tracking it through makes us more secure. So as these emerging threats come in, we have to shift focus to bring them into that process. How do we now mitigate the risk of the undeclared devices? How do we and do that on the front end? So we kind of think of the timeline, and specifically talking about lithium batteries. If a thermal runaway is kind of the event, how do we move left on that timeline? How do we create the process that mitigates it? How do we now create detection services at the right point in the supply chain, right? If it gets into the warehouse, well, now our warehouse is at risk. And if a warehouse catches on fire or a warehouse has an explosive detonation, we not just only had the incident, but now how is that going to impact everything else that was unrelated? So the warehouse is damaged, other people's goods are damaged, other shipments. If it moves further on that timeline and it gets on a plane, we have another. So where do we implement the solution that's the most efficient and effective while reducing the greatest risk to you know
Um,
to our
uh,
businesses?
Give us an idea about the company Global Canine and your priorities. It's a veteran-founded and veteran-operated company. You pay a lot of attention to your resources, the human resources, also the trained dogs that you have equipment. Give us an idea about your priorities.
So our people are our greatest asset. One of the things that you have to be very cognizant of with your workforce is the institutional knowledge that they gain from experience, right? Uh, as you're very aware in this industry, every day is a new challenge. It's not the same problem set every day. So the longer that they're working and the longer that they're in the field and operating, the more experience they're going to have, which means the next employee is going to get that transfer of knowledge when they come in. So you have to take care of your employees. One of the things that from our military background that we were able to really do is transfer kind of some of the principles and approaches that we used in the military aspects of our previous careers into what we do today. We're able to operate really dispersed operations, but maintain the same standards. How do we create these logistical processes? Well, we have that knowledge from doing this historically in our careers and bringing those people in. Now, as you look at the dogs, that's our next biggest asset, right? One, finite number of dogs capable to do this, right? So it's not an unlimited supply. Um, and specifically, as we talk about our company and our industry, we have to identify the talent in multiple different aspects. So we need the most experienced and best dog trainers, but we also need the best folks from an x-ray screening standpoint. We need the best trainer on traditional methods of cargo screening, because what we're able to do, and going back to kind of how we rely on our military background, is how do we layer all these together to create the most effective and efficient solution for our clients. So if we're able to do that, we're going to really impact them, and the best use of the resource will ultimately save them on the cost front.
Okay, give us an idea about how Global Canine came into this business. What was the gap that you saw when you came into this business of security?
So when we started, it was not common practice because of the regulatory environment for private sector to be able to do the work just globally. The TSA, after a long period of time with multiple organizations and associations, fought very hard to have the TSA allow private sector to come in. Now, it was a big change from traditionally government employee screening to focused on delivering to the industry, where, and that's what the industry called for. Like, hey, we need somebody that works for us, that meets our timelines, that really caters to our needs, so it doesn't impact the cargo flow. They need to hit on time, the on time rates. They cargo has to fly as booked. So in 2018, the TSA opened that up, and that's where our company came in to fill this gap of private sector, client-focused services to the air cargo industry.
Okay. Earlier, when we spoke, when I asked you about which is the most important or the biggest threat for air cargo, instead of mentioning any of the lithium batteries or explosive, you mentioned complacency as the most important threat. Uh, Tell me why you said that. Uh,
Yeah. So the complacency typically forms because we created a solution that stopped the problem, right? We were focused, there was an emerging threat, we were focused, we developed a solution, and it's no longer a problem because we have the solution in place. But as the next emerging threat comes, as the next thing, we can't lose sight of those processes and the things that we did to protect us. Because if we lower our guard or remove a process that unnecessarily, um, what we can create is a gap that now we exposed ourselves. So something that happened 20 years ago, you could have the employee that said that haven't happened in 20 years. Why are we still doing this? Because if we don't, but as we develop and address emerging threats, if we are still focused in how can we combine these solutions and layer these solutions that they don't get forgot, will continue to protect us. But if we're not focused, if we lose focus, right, that's when accidents happen, right? That's when mistakes take place. So being complacent in that this never happens, um, I wear a seatbelt every time I'm in the car. Don't plan on getting in a wreck, right? But I wear the seatbelt. So if you get complacent, the one time that you don't wear your seatbelt, probably going to be the time that you end up in a car wreck, and that complacency will get you.
okay. Um, one few things that I noticed about the company recently is about you are trying to expand to Europe. Also, you acquired a company in UK. Gives an idea about as an Alabama-based company, your presence in United States. Now you're moving into Europe. What are your plans? How is the future looking like for the company?
Yeah. So we are focused on delivering solutions to our clients. If our clients have gaps, if they need our service, um, we're more than happy to go where they need us. So being an Alabama-based company, we started U.S. focus. Um, One of the things internationally as regulations and from a security standpoint, the agreement where the countries have came together and they're agreeing on these sets of standards. They're agreeing on what the threat is. They're also agreeing on the solutions, right? Um, and that opens up opportunities. So with our client base that we have, uh, to one of the big things for us is as a detection service is the implementation of our technology that really kind of gets washed over a lot because they see the dog stands out front, the x-ray is big, and the technology that's working in the background is so powerful. Our clients want that same capability set. So new markets are a way forward for us. We love to go in and deliver those services.
Talking about technology, last year in March, you collaborated with a company, a SaaS company, a technology company. Tell us about how you are trying to use technology in the security solutions, how AI or ML can help you in mitigating threats.
Yeah, so digitalization has been talked about on every conference, right? And it's about the adoption of the digitalization. It's not the concept. We all agree on the concept, but it's really about how do we adopt it, how do we implement it, and how do we integrate it into our workforce. Well, typically we are a new solution that's coming in. They're bringing in the canine screening solution, and it's easier for that new process to be adopted. So taking our backgrounds and the individuals that we have within our company, being able to develop a more comprehensive and holistic solution than just the screening aspect has allowed us to develop a technology that does bring that digitalization in with very minimal impact to the company, the client, our clients. So One of the things we're really able to do is automate using machine learning, using the AI, from handwritten paper to a digital process. At the same time, we're screening. Because the technology is able to do that, it significantly reduces the amount of paperwork. Why does that matter? Because now we're not screening and then going filling out a piece of paper, right? Now we're able to use the technology to reduce the time, which ultimately increases the efficiency and reduces the cost because it's less time per item that we have to screen.
Um, um, Let me go back to the lithium-ion battery threads. Um, can you take us through how you could identify some of these undeclared or misdeclared lithium-ion batteries coming in? Um, can you take us through the process, how you do that?
So what we're focused on is the odor. And there's very distinct odors that take place in this process, right? One of the things that's present also in these batteries is they're vented. Just the structural, nature of the batteries. So they're a vented battery that allows the odor to escape. Well, odor also is heavier than air, and odor will drop. So from just a detection standpoint, very simple. Now, one of the things that in this process, we have to be very specific, and it's not just in this case, but any case, we can train the dog to detect many, many odors. However, the reaction to an alert or an alarm has to match the item we're searching for. And I say that to say, if we were searching for um, humans, we're looking for stowaways in an aircraft. The response to identifying a stowaway is going to be different than a response to finding a lithium battery, right? Saying that, now we have to look at each one of the dogs as the capability set that they're trained for needs to be properly employed, and we don't overlap them. So as we go back to the lithium battery detection, what's the most dangerous threat to us? What are we concerned with first? If it is explosives, we take one dog, that dog completes its mandated screening for the explosives. Then come in with the lithium battery dog, because our response to these two things will be different. We don't train the same dog in that case. However, let's say that, unrelated to this, a client came in and they said, hey, we want to find these insects and this fungus. If these insects or this fungus exist in the shipment, it's not flying. Their reaction is the same. We're able to train the dog to detect those. The reaction is going to be the same, so we could train the dog for both of those items. Does that make sense? So as we get to lithium battery, we're building a purpose-built solution just to detect the lithium battery.
How reliable is your the trained dogs, for example, compared to the equipments available or the technology?
So I always say that everything needs to be a layered solution, because nothing will ever be 100%, no matter what we have. But the accuracy, I mean, we are a detection company. We will use the most accurate and most effective means to screen cargo. So right now, the dogs are the most effective method that we have available. If a new one comes out, we'll be more than happy to look at it. But
Okay. You also operate in different geographies, for example, in South America as well. Um, what is the difference that you see in the, in terms of operating there in those airports, and those geographies? How it is different in terms of providing security solutions?
well, one of the things that the regulatory space is different, right? So you really have to work with the local regulatory bodies. Um, you also have a different culture, so you have to understand, kind of how it will fit into the process, because the process isn't the same everywhere. And I think a good example is, um, the rest areas. Like, how do we bring, like, if we just assume or say, hey, we need an area for our dog to rest, and we don't put parameters there, we end up resting in a 120 degree Fahrenheit building. Well, we're really not resting, are we? So we need to put the parameters and understand, like, to be very specific and not make assumptions as we operate in those places, so that we don't have miscommunication. As you're dealing with people that either may not have experience in doing what you're doing, or the way other companies work in that country is different than how we do.
Okay, Chris, you are the Chief Strategy Officer of Global Canine. You also look into the future, what is going to happen, and how to develop the market. Gives an idea about how the next 2 to 5 years of the company looks like.
So you got to be looking at 2 to 5 years, right? I think everybody here is looking at the future. One of the reasons is it takes a long time to get things going, right? So if we're not moving today on what the future is, we're going to be behind the curve. So as we look forward, the expansion of new markets for us is definitely something we'll continue on that. We are very local based. In the U.S., we want local employment. Same thing internationally is building that local capacity and identifying those individuals that are native to that area we're planning on going, and then bringing in that technology piece. One of the things that our platform is really good at is our ability to connect. So whatever emerging data platforms that our clients have, integrating that in is something we're already prepared for. So I think that what you'll see a lot in the next 2 to 5 years is really that data piece. That data piece being integrated, the AI being really pushed, the machine learning being developed, and really locking in those parameters to drive much more of a value add associated with the screening, right? Instead of just being a task that needs to be completed, being a task that needs to be completed along with the value add. Now, bringing that to a global marketplace where we can reduce inefficiencies, bring this data value forward to the clients, and also give them the same capability set in the markets we already serve to their markets that they have that we're currently aren't serving. Next 2 to 5 years. I mean, that's probably the easy answer.
Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you.